Alright, so today is going to be a little bit different from my video. My last video, which was last night, depending on which time you're seeing this. I still haven't got my studio set up to the way I would like it. I need to get a lampshade for the light I have up there to kind of block off certain lighters. So I made my own makeshift studio just for this video. As you can see, Art the Clown, the Elm Street sign, and the replica Scarface poster. But aside from all that, let's get into the rankings. So Fantastic Four, like I said in my last video, it's kind of like a mixed franchise for me because I love, like, Dr. Doom is one of my favorite characters in cinema, comics, literature, anything, period. But, like, this last film was really the only film to, like, portray them in a way that didn't seem extremely corny. Now, if you think about it, like, back in the day, 2002, when the first Spider-Man movie came out, right? That was like the start to everything we watch now in terms of like the MCU, Avengers, anything, like, because that was a perfect origin story and it set up, you know, characters we love and stuff. So just 3 years later is when Fantastic Four came out. But if you look at that time period through 2002 to like 2000, about 2009, let's say before the Avengers, there was a lot of people trying to cash in on superhero movies, like the original Daredevil movie. Great character, terrible. Ghost Rider, great character, let's be honest. That has a soft spot in all of our hearts, but that movie was not good. Punisher was good, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many movies that came based around this same time frame that tried to cash in on money without knowing the story they were trying to portray. So with my ranking, I'm sure if you've seen all four of these movies, you know where my last is. Number 4 comes in at Fantastic Four 2015. Now, I'm going to tell you two things. 1, Miles Teller. 2, Miles Teller. The only pro of this movie is the actor Miles Teller. I love Miles Teller. He's in War Dogs, and that's one of my favorite movies. Like, dude plays his role, but not who you should have casted for this type of movie, you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, like I said, Dr. Doom, one of my favorite characters of all time. If you watch this movie and you see how Victor ends up, you know, becoming who he is, and then when they go back to the planet and he's there, dude looks like a cyborg. Like, he's literally just a neon green safety patrol robot. Like, what are we doing? Like, there's a reason this movie has an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. I've watched it twice, and the only time I rewatched it was because I thought that it was, like, maybe I was tripping, because when it came out in 2015, I watched it. Mind you, at that time I was 13. I rewatched it and I was like, no, 13-year-old Justin was obviously a little bit, you know, somewhat smart, because this movie's terrible, horrible. But anyways, so, but see though, like, if I was to rank that movie, I'd probably get that movie like a 3.5 out of 10. So that's the only movie I despise out of this ranking. I'm just telling you that moving forward. But there's not a lot of good movies in this ranking to begin with. So coming in number 3 is Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer from 2007. Don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, I thought this movie was so freaking cool, bro. I thought this movie was the shit. Like, because not only did it bring back Dr. Doom at the end of the movie, but I thought the Silver Surfer was a super, like, cool character. And at the time, when the trailers came out when I was a kid, they included all of, like, the cool scenes with Silver Surfer, like how he was, like, you know, going through the subway and stuff like that. So when I was a kid, I was super hyped for the movie. Loved it when I was a kid. Just like most of the 10 movies I had on replay back in the day, I watched it every single day. But as I've gotten older, I realized this movie is not good. Like, let's be honest, this movie is not good. Like having the plot be set around Sue and Reed Richards' like wedding. That's when the Silver Surfer comes in. Like, I could get behind that if it was like done the proper way, but it's just not. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. The only part of the movie I like is the end when they get to the Dr. Doom plot, and even at that point, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like Silver Surfer is trying to tell the world like, hey, Earth is doomed if you don't blase blase. So you think he's a villain, but he's just trying to save people. But then you get to the Doctor Doom plot, and it almost makes no sense. Like I don't even like understand how to explain the plot of this movie to you, because I just, every time I watch it, I'm like, you know what I mean? It was made 2 years after the initial one, which the initial one didn't get good reviews either, or a good audience score, but they made a lot of money. So you can tell they immediately were like, okay, let's continue the story and let's make some money. So Silver Surfer, if I was to rank that movie, it'd be about a 5 out of 10. And I'm telling you that 5 out of 10 is pure nostalgia based. But coming in at number 2 would be the first Fantastic Four. This is not the first Fantastic Four movie. There was one from the 80s that got canceled, but you can still watch it. But I'm saying like 2005, first theatrically released Fantastic Four movie. I'll be honest with you. You could argue that it's not that good either. But when I was a kid, bruh, I'm telling you straight up, that movie had a big soft spot in my heart, bro. Because the problem I have with a lot of origin movies, like I said yesterday in my review of Fantastic Four First Steps, a lot of movies that are the start of a franchise, they take an hour to get into, like, you know, the story. And then an hour in, you only have 35, 45, 50 minutes left to do something with your story. So that's usually when the action coincides. I usually do not like origin stories, but like I told you, Doctor Doom, you know, personal favorite character and history of mine. And on top of that, like, I feel like the last 20 minutes is satisfying enough for an origin story. I'm not saying it does everything it should have done. I'm not saying it's like the best thing you'll watch. But in terms of third acts of this whole franchise, I definitely think the third act of the first movie is the best to me. Because when I was a kid, me and my little brother, we used to set up pillows in the living room, right? And he would act like I'm talking, I'm like 7, he's like 4. And he would act like he was the Thing, you know, Ben from the movie, and I'd act like I was Dr. Doom. If you remember, there's a scene from the first movie where they tackle each other and they fall through a hotel and they flood the pool. So, like, there's a lot of nostalgia base around the first movie from 2005. Granted, I was 3 when it came out, so I basically grew up with the movie by the time, you know, I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, watching it every day. So, not necessarily like it's a good. I would give it a solid. Critically, if I was being realistic, I'd give it a 6.5. But I'm gonna give it a 7.5, just out of pure enjoyment. So, out of process of elimination, you obviously know the new Fantastic Four comes in number 1. And I feel like logically, I feel like that makes sense, because they used 3 different comic books when making this script. And I feel like that shows, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not going to talk too much about it, because yesterday I said in my review how I felt about the movie. I had very few dislikes. One of my only dislikes was it was overhyped, you know, just because Marvel's been on a slope for a while. But one thing I will say is, like, setting a Marvel movie that you already have an MCU on the side, right? But you set a Marvel movie in an Earth where it has nothing to do with anybody else, and you can just make a film based off of, like, your story. That is going to be 10 times better than a story that, you know, you have to watch 3 Marvel TV shows. You have to watch 4 movies just to understand who these characters are and stuff. So it's like, realistically, I think the new Fantastic Four has its problems for sure, but I really think it's the best movie out of the franchise for sure. And honestly, I think that I like it better than Deadpool Wolverine. Like, I didn't have this channel when Deadpool Wolverine came out, but that movie was a call to fan service. You know, let's throw everybody from the last 10, 15 years that these people grew up with into a movie so we can sell tickets. Loved the movie, don't get me wrong, but I think this movie, like, pure story, not only is the best in the franchise, but definitely the best Marvel movie since I don't know. I don't know. It's right there with Thunderbolts. But either way, it's just good to see Marvel's back on track. So that's my ranking of the 4 Fantastic Four movies. I think what I'm gonna do after this is I'm gonna start to dive more into like horror, because Weapons comes out on August 8th, and I've been looking forward to that movie. And what I want this channel to be is predominantly horror movies, but you know, I'm a fan of all movies. I'm a fan of cinema, period. So with Fantastic Four just coming out recently and me starting this channel, I thought it would make sense just to talk about it and, you know, spread my feelings about the movie. I'd like for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and, you know, tell me what you thought about it. But there's going to be a lot of horror content coming up, especially like mid-September to the end of October. There's going to be a 6-week period there where I have an agenda of a lot of rankings, a lot of reviews of movies that are already out, like years, you know, just like classic movies. But there's a YouTuber I watch, Cody Leach. He usually does 31 on 31 every year. Instead of me ranking 31 movies, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna review a horror movie, new or classic, for 31 days out of October. Just trying to kind of like build my support system on here more, kind of trying to get to like interact with you guys more. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up on this channel I'm very excited for, and I'm very excited for the future of this. And I just really appreciate anybody who interacts with me, you know. So if you haven't seen the new Fantastic Four, go and check it out. And if you haven't seen any of the other 4, you know what I mean, go check that out as well. I hope you guys have a great day.